Afternoon, Wendy.
Hi there. We just had a silly 5 minutes or a bit longer, haven't we? Trying to get technology to
Yeah, which button do I press?
cooperate.
Is it this button? Is it that button? Wendy told me to fuck off, but to be fair, I did start it.
I think you retaliated too, so don't you put all the
She
blame on
told me
me.
Zoom was judging me. I'm like, I mean, come on.
No, I'm not playing at all.
It kind of links into what we're talking about today, though, doesn't it? Judgments
Yeah,
and self-critical
yeah.
stuff. And actually, yeah, we decided for today that we were going to talk about the stories that shape our lives, and also yeah, was there a bit other bit to that? The stories that
No, I
shape
think
our
that was it for that.
lives.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
think
think
we
that's big
decided on that
enough,
one,
isn't
didn't we?
it? Yeah.
Yeah, we said
Yeah.
that.
And so, yeah, I don't need to know that Zoom's judging me, Wendy, because, I judge myself enough. The world judges me as well. So we can leave Zoom out of it for now, can't we?
Yeah, I think we can actually. I think we both kind of we both admitted it over one way or another at different times that that's what happens to each of us.
Yeah.
That we feel judged or we feel
And it starts so early, like,
Mm,
like baby stuff, kiddie stuff. Yeah. We just had a moment. I'm going to share it. Fuck it. Oh God, I'm swearing today. We're gonna have to put a warning on. This is not going on the kids channel anyway, is it? Because
so
yeah,
doesn't.
it's warning sweary therapist. The more excited I get, the more kind of my impulse control around swearing kind of like is not there. My passion is sweary, I'm pretty sure. We were talking about just before we came on there, and we both had a moment of like swelling up, I think, of like
Mm.
emotional kind of stuff about that it's not what we've been told that we hold on to, but what somebody helps us feel.
Yes, yes, because that's it, isn't it? It's not necessarily, as you say, it's not that. It's just how we feel about it, and it does hit us really deeply,
And
doesn't
healing is,
it?
I think, about sometimes with another person, the healing comes from being able to not know it, but feel it. There's a difference,
Mm.
isn't there, between knowing something, like knowing I'm brilliant is like, yeah, okay, I kind of hold that, like, I can know I'm brilliant, but there's something super powerful that swells up when somebody feeds something back to me and I feel it. And I'm wondering what that is. And I'm thinking, is it pride that is overwhelming, that swells up, that has us kind of like almost in tears? Yeah, what is that emotion that swells up for me? When we're connected and we help each other feel it.
I told you I'd change colour.
You've gone yellow. You've gone all cartoony, just like what's that artist's name who does the are you gonna come back to, are you frozen? You actually look like a pop art on my screen right
I
now.
know it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, but I can't see you, and I kind of feel like, yeah, because I can't see you. I'm talking to a pop art poster. Do we want to pause and
I think we're going to have to pause it for a moment,
yeah,
and I think I'm going to probably have to leave and come back in again because this is just driving me mad.
yeah, let's pause. Oh no, you've come back.
Come back, right? Yeah, I have.
Let's just carry
Right.
on then. Yeah, it happens. It's live. This is live. Let's just carry on.
It
Yeah.
really is. I mean, Zoom has just been annoying lately, and I'm not the only one that's experienced
No,
this. So I do keep
it's just
changing colour.
tech
I think
stuff, isn't it?
they've been playing with it, and we said they've
Yeah.
put some really cartoony apps on here, and I think since they've done that, it's just gone bonkers. Okay, so you were talking about when somebody feeds those positives back to you, do
When
you
somebody
get a
helps
sense
you feel it, there's this
that
kind
you?
of big emotional response for me that, and I know when you're feeling it. I feel it, and I'm like, are you feeling it too? And you're like, yeah. So
Mm.
I'm feeling my stuff and your stuff in this moment. It's kind of connectedness.
Yeah, I think there is something about when we feel that somebody's really gets what we're saying.
It hits us here.
Yes. But you know what? I was also thinking about when somebody said, I remember this happening when I was quite young, but if somebody did something or said something nice to me or touched me in a nice way, I would get a real well of emotion coming
You've just
over
hit the
me.
nail on the head, I think. Is it's our inner child. Oh my God, I remember that moment you made me like you made me cry, but in that kind of way. You really heard me and you hit the nail on the head. I thought it was pride, but actually it's bigger than that. It's the oh my God of relief because you you know, a lot of my experiences of relationships it was of not being heard.
Yes,
And in this moment, I felt so heard that my inner
yes.
child, I think she just released something, and the tears of like, thank fucking God. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can remember there was I really can distinctly remember. I can't remember every part of it, but there was a situation where somebody was brushing my hair, and it wasn't my mom, wasn't my dad, could have been a cousin or something. I haven't got a distinct memory of it, but
Mm,
that feeling of them brushing my hair, it was like I've got their attention and they're really caring for me.
yeah.
And I put it down to more recently, then it must have been a rush of oxytocin.
It's a rush of emotions for sure. And I really think it's our inner child. And I know when I'm working with clients and they say, why am I, the minute you ask, am I okay? I'm like, I'm crying. And then it's like all this stacked up emotion of I need to be
Yeah.
heard. I need to be validated. I need to know I matter. It's almost like a inner child. We can't stuff her down and shove her away anymore. She's
Mm,
here. And it's like it's okay to bring your that wounded vulnerable self here. And so yeah, I think she's
yes.
in motion in those moments, isn't he or she's a little he or she in a child is in motion in these moments. We're crying out quite literally for care.
Yes, and you're right because it's the inner child. It was my small child, but I still feel it.
That
If
inner
someone
child is
does
always
something,
with us.
yes, because if someone does something nice for me, then I
Yeah,
still feel that real
it's kind of
wash of emotion
overwhelming.
over. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, it's
And
powerful.
is it okay if I share with people that
Yeah, oh, no holds barred. Go for it.
okay, so
I think
I
I'm an
know
oversharer, but I'm just raw, honest, and
well
how
it
the hell it
involves you,
comes.
so it involves you, so I just need to check with you it's okay.
Yeah, my suit's
Because
everywhere. Let's go for it.
okay, so the day before my birthday, I received a parcel and I
Yeah,
had no idea who it was from. I opened it up and I'm feeling it now. I'm feeling it
I'm
now.
feeling
I
it too because I remember the moment you got it, and I was like, the power of kindness. Yeah,
You had sent me a gift for my birthday,
I
and
did.
it wasn't just my birthday, it was also for our friendship.
Yeah,
And yeah, I can still feel it now. I was so overwhelmed. I
yeah,
still am. Just thinking about it, that you would have been that thoughtful and done something for me, that you would send me a gift. And it was just, yeah, yeah, I actually, I phoned you, didn't I? Rather
yeah,
than,
yeah. In
rather than
tears. I
just
I
said,
missed
and I
the
was
call
in
because I was
tears.
working, but you were in tears, and you said to me, "Yeah, I'm so overwhelmed that you didn't even know I knew." Yeah, I'd asked you many moons ago, in one of our conversations, and as we were talking, I wrote it down. I put it in my diary, and because I wanted to, yeah, I wanted to remember when we care about somebody deeply, we want to remember these details about them, and we want them to feel that care. So the day I asked you many months ago was with the intention that I want to remember your birthday. That feels
Yeah.
important.
And
Yeah,
and it is, it's those moments, isn't it? Because
yeah,
I felt that connectedness with you at that
yeah.
moment. And it was, yeah, as you say, so
I
overwhelming.
had no idea it would be so overwhelming for you, but that just kind of says that. And also sometimes when things hit me by surprise, we really helps us to kind of know that actually this inner child has not been taken care of, not been soothed, has been traumatized, criticized, shamed. And this is what
Yeah.
this episode is about, isn't it? Those stories that make us feel not good enough, disgusted with ourselves, hatred, sabotage, that kind of, that because we're too tiny, we're too little, we don't have the ability to be able to know that this is the adult stuff, not our stuff. And so we're told we're stupid, lazy, clumsy. I had some really, like, nobody, finding my voice has been a real battle, because what my mother used to say to me was, shut up, nobody wants to hear from you. And I would just, shrink off in shame. And so those words from our childhood, I think lots of people would say that we'll clear your limiting beliefs out in 2 minutes flat. Fuck. And that is just so not how it happens. They live with us, but actually I think what we learn to do is we can bounce back to compassion of, actually, no, that's what happened to us. That's not who we are. I was always a really curious child, and loud and bouncy, as children should be, but that was slammed down by adults who aren't coping, who can't care for us emotionally or practically.
And I think I wanted to add to that, although you said that we can bounce back, I think,
I meant bounce back to compassion.
yeah, okay. But I think
Yeah,
sometimes it's not just within us. We need that acknowledgement or that care
we
or
need
that
to
support
heal, and we
around us
do need
as
other
adults.
people. Yeah, we
Because
do.
yeah, so
Yeah,
I think it's hard to do it on our own because it's that thing, isn't it? Again, you have to love yourself before somebody else can love you, which I
no,
think is bollocks.
it's
How do
shite.
you understand what it's like to
We
be
need to
loved? How
feel
do
it.
you've got to feel it? You've got to
Feel it.
understand what it's like to be loved, to
Yeah.
begin to actually accept yourself. Because if we get accepted by other people, we're more likely to feel that, well, I am okay because that person accepts me, good,
Bruce
bad, or
Perry, yeah, I
exactly.
love Bruce Perry's work, and what he said is, we do not build a sense of self in isolation. It is
No,
about what happens to us around us. And so you're absolutely right. We can be loved before we love ourselves.
yeah,
Through many years of being cared for in a relationship, that I learned to grow, thrive and flourish, because I was fortunate enough to have a constant cheerleader
yeah.
who would say, no, keep going, don't shut up. Bought me a book on feminism and said, keep shouting, keep swearing, don't be shut down.
Mm.
And so actually, yeah, that kind of being able to go, when I say bounce back, I don't mean bounce back from all this shit. I mean that ability to kind of notice what you're doing, that criticalness, and to be able to move to a place of actually compassion. So when we can start to notice and come off autopilot, we then start and we do this with our clients. As our clients have said to me, your voice has become my voice. When I notice myself being like really hard on myself, I remember what you've said to me, and I actually think, well, no, what would Mel say? Mel would say, take your time, you're doing your best. Yeah, this shit is hard. And so actually, yeah, we maybe we take the stuff that other people give us. Sometimes you've sent me stuff and helped me feel some of my amazing, and actually we can think about the people who have helped us, and it grounds us, and it brings us back to that place of compassion. I think of some of the things the clients have said to me that I've worked with, some of the things that the my friends have said to me. And so we can bounce from that critical place back to,
Mm.
this is what people have fed back to me. This is the story of how people experience me. And we so need that. Bruce Perry says we can't build a sense of self in isolation. We are wired to be connected and to be nurtured by other people. And it doesn't matter whether you're a baby, 40, 50, 60, or 80, or older. That never changes. And I think we have this narrative, don't we, of over resilience, over dependency, that no one's coming to save you, and you have to be responsible for yourself. And yes, that's true, but it's also shit at the same time, because all of this stuff is paradoxical and contradictory, that yes, you have to take responsibility for your life. No one else is going to do my shopping for me. I have to push through and order the stuff online or go to the supermarket. But when I am really struggling, we don't have to hold that on our own. This is the tough bit, isn't it? The when we've been
Gosh,
criticized and
yeah.
you feel a nuisance, you don't want to interrupt someone's day and say, I'm not okay.
No, you're right. I think it feels there's so many. Well, we're going to go back to that small child again of feeling shame. Well, you
Yeah.
shouldn't be. You
I'm too
should.
much.
Yeah, too much.
Too much
You're
or not
using
enough
your
are the
pain.
struggle of all human beings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think the other thing is to remember is, clients come to me, I'm sure they do to you, and it is that, well, why can't I feel okay? Why can't I? Why aren't I making the progress I want? And I just say to them, okay, how long have we been working together? How many sessions we had? Okay, and it will be 3, 4, maybe longer. Okay, tell me when this problem started. When did you start feeling like this? How long has it been going on? And they'll say, oh, it might be 5 years, but it's more likely to be 10, 20, 30. Can we have a reality check here? If you've been carrying that
I do something
shame,
really
guilt, that
similar.
the all those negative emotions, if you've had that feeling that you aren't good enough, that you are too much, you are, or whatever it is, if you've been carrying that for so long, how do you think that it's going to take 3 or 4 hours? Because that's what we
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Let's have a reality check here. And you and I know that however much we've worked on ourselves over the years, it will still come and hit us on occasions.
You're right. I say to clients, how long have you been alive? And they say me 30 years, 40 years. And I'll say, so you've held this with you for 30, 40 years. Yeah. And you're going to hold it with you till you die. Yeah. And that feels pessimistic, but I'm like, wait, there's more. Um, Actually, what we can do is this practice of self-compassion that we build over time. And so what it gets a little easier to do is to bounce from that critical back to that self compassion and be, it's about developing the skills of being your own best friend. Yeah.
Oh gosh, yes, I use that so often. Yeah.
Knowing what you're starting to notice what you're doing. And what my clients don't get to some euphoric place of like, I love all of myself. They get to a place where they can notice what they're doing. They can hold that critical voice.
Yeah.
They can use compassion for themselves, and they can start to steady themselves. And that what that allows them to do is to kind of expand their edges. This was all about, it's not big and it's not fast. This is the bit that I think we're both on the same page with, that, you know, the frustration that you can't just get rid of it overnight, and that it's a chipping away like an iceberg. Yeah, chipping away.
Yeah.
And so our frustration says we're not going quick enough, we're not going fast enough. That's a shame narrative of it should be quicker, it should be faster. When we can go with compassion that says, no, this shit is hard and I'm really doing my best. So we bounce from these kind of two places. And I'm just writing something about PTSD. And actually, if you have PTSD, you may have a shattering of more parts. So you may
Yeah.
have really big sabotagey parts, even a part that wants to die. And so when I'm saying for two places, I'm thinking more of an integrated self. But if anybody's watching this who has, quite chronic trauma and PTSD, they'll have shattered more parts that are competing. So I just want to add that in. So
Mm.
yeah, that bouncing back to self-compassion, being our own best friend, and that takes a lot of work and a lot of time. I have a little poem that I might share, which says, frustration says we have far to go, and patience says we can take it slow. And when we can show shame the door, bye bye shame, hope whispers, try once more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's beautiful. And it just says it all. It just those few lines. Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Because that's it. And you and I, we both get frustrated when we
Of course
see.
we do. We're
I know I'm
human.
going to say that we get frustrated when we see those posts on social media. So
Mindset,
we
change your
see
mindset, change your thinking.
transformation, change
I
your
can get rid of your
mindset.
limited beliefs in two
Oh,
minutes.
yeah,
Three
all of
sessions and
that.
we'll be done here. And I believe that crap and paid for that stuff when I was really in a really bad place. I thought, oh, I actually thought people would know more than me, and that they got some kind of thing that I didn't have, and they
Yeah,
didn't.
and I would agree that the same thing. I used to feel all you have to do, and I've been that journey as well. I've gone,
Yeah,
well, no, hang on a minute, but it's not. And you spend a lot of money believing that. And I think there
waste
are
a lot of money. Yeah,
situations where maybe that positive, all you have is our positive affirmations. That's all you need. I think in certain situations it can be helpful.
I
It
think
can be a
this
tool,
depends on
but
how
it's
you're
not.
wired, and
Yeah,
it
on
depends
how you.
on it depends on our own emotional resilience, what we've lived through. um how the brain works is your prefrontal cortex, your thinking brain, your central executive network, and then down, you've got kind of midbrain, and then a lower brain, a survival brain down here at the bottom, and building those neural pathways up to the thinking brain. We heal from the, trauma healing is bottom up, so it's through the body, up through the lower brain, into the upper brain. So what's happening in people with kind of chronic trauma is actually I think it's the interior, it's something grey, but there's a part in the base of the brain here that is constantly lit up with trauma. So information isn't even getting into the upstairs brain.
Mm,
It's only hitting the lower brain stem.
mm,
And so I'm overwhelmed, I can't cope. And I have some of that with new shattering, that I get panicky, I get panic attacks. And this stuff I would cope with before, but because there's a shattering and my brain has literally changed and my body has changed. And so if you're overwhelmed, you can't access this prefrontal cortex. You can't think your way out. As we heal, though, and we build the neural pathways up to the thinking brain, we do get to the point where we can be our own experts, our own therapists, and we can go, we may have, depending on where we're at in our healing journey, depending on how much work we have been doing. And it's not always about work, because it pisses me off when people say, oh, well, you didn't do the work. No, we can get new shatterings,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
new traumas, not just old traumas that really impact us. So that ability to be able to kind of think your way out of it. Yes, some of the time we can do that, and we're like, have a word with ourselves. Mine's more a compassionate word with myself, like, come on, let's calm down, let's breathe, you're okay. Sometimes I can do that, and other times it's too big and
Yeah.
overwhelming, and might need to phone you, Wendy. Remember when I phoned you when I came out of hospital? I'd had three
Yeah.
999 calls. I got nothing left. I couldn't get out of the hospital. And I rang you in, oh, I can feel that now. I rang in absolute tears. I didn't have anything and I couldn't calm myself down. I couldn't do anything. And you just stayed on the phone, kept me, breathe, 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 breathe. And eventually I was able to regulate enough to phone a taxi. So depending on the level of overwhelm, depending on how
Mm.
healed we are, or how shattered we are, um, depends on
Yeah,
how
and
much access we have to this prefrontal
yeah.
cortex.
You're right. It's with the new traumas as well, because the old traumas are there. But I can remember a situation. It was several years ago now, where something happened. It was a really upsetting. I just could not center myself. I could not. And I remember that feeling in my body, and it lasted for about 3 days,
Yeah,
even though I was going, come on, be kind to yourself. This isn't, you know what to do, etc. But I just felt this I held it in my body for about 3 days. I
yeah,
could not regulate my nervous system,
yeah.
whatever I tried. And so I think we need to, you're doing it as well, but we both agree we need to reassure people that you're going to have those moments when you're going, I can't do this. I don't know where to go with it.
And this is the
Because,
difference between people who've grown up in safe homes and people who've grown up in traumatic homes. They may never have learned the skill of calming down and soothing, and they may not be able to access their thinking brain to kind of Yeah, I got to that place, and so there was very much, my fuse was really long. Yeah, and new
Yeah.
shattering makes this fuse
Yeah.
like really small things. Like I had a meltdown earlier on. I had to put the dogs in their den, and they got separation anxiety. They were shredding their beds. They were distressed. I needed to go and work, and I was like, oh, this all feels too much.
Yeah.
But actually, I would have salved. So what we try and do is when we've had kind of trauma and big things are going on in our now, we try and carry on like there's like nothing has
Mm.
happened. And what I've
Mm.
had to really do, which is hard, and we will have to do, is we have to adjust our expectations of ourselves. And it's really like a mobile phone has no when it only has like 10%, it won't open all the apps. And right now my body, sometimes it only has like 10%, and it won't do all the things I want it to do. And so having to really adjust my expectations, and we know 12 months ago I couldn't do lots of things, and now you keep reminding me, yeah, you couldn't do this a year ago. Yeah. And so healing and recovery is slow. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
not linear either. I mean, you're not
It's
just going to
not.
go,
I have
well, that's it, that's
days I'm
never going to work.
okay,
There
and
are
then
days
days
where,
where I bounce down into dark spaces. And so,
yeah,
yeah, it's not linear. And this is where I like the snakes and ladders kind of. I call this square one thinking. Yeah, square one thinking is a shame narrative. Like I'm back. It's a bit like if you think I remember. Can we talk? Am I allowed to mention your migraines?
yeah, of course you can.
Yeah, when you get a bad migraine and you haven't had one for a while, you're kind of like, oh, it's back. Yeah. And that irritation and frustration because you thought they'd gone and it's back. And then if we're not careful, we have that blame and shame narrative that's like, I'm just back at square one, and we don't honor the progress and the actually, collapse and is part of relapse is part of recovery. And so
Mm.
actually we it's not linear, it's messy as hell. And so you get to a point where you think, oh, my dark days are gone, or oh, my migraines are gone, or
Yeah,
oh, my critical self-talk has gone, or I've
yeah.
had some. And then when you kind of when you spin again, what it's so important in this moment, if we can have self-compassion in this moment, if we have a shame narrative, if you kind of lifted yourself to kind of here, and then you have a wobble, whatever it is. If you have a shame narrative, this happens. You're
Yeah,
back down here,
yeah,
I'm at square one, I've made no
yeah,
progress at all. If
yeah.
you can have a compassion narrative, when if you can apply some compassion when you
Mm.
have a wobble, you don't drop here, you stay here, you honor the
Yeah.
progress you've made. Yeah. And then you can carry on, so you kind of build a bit. You may
Mm.
drop, but it's not as far, it's not as plummeting. So when clients have the ability to I have the pride because you tried slogan. Yeah. The
Yes.
pride because you tried, rather the shame if I didn't do it well enough, is it's
Oh,
almost
oh,
like I have a
oh.
physical kind of I'm quite visual, so I have this physical kind of imagery of I'm at the top of the stairs and maybe I fucked up, or maybe I've gone into a dark space, and whatever kind of coping hasn't happened here, or whatever I'm shaming myself about. And in this moment, I've sometimes got enough brain power to go, there's two rooms you can choose here. Yeah.
Yeah.
One is the shame room. It's dark. There's no windows or doors, and I can't get out of that one. Yeah. And the other is the room of pride because it's sunny. There's a window, there's a door, and I can go in there and I go, I'm doing my hardest. I'm trying. That room is so much easier to get out of than the shame room. Yeah.
I love that. I love that because I'm gonna, if I can, I'm gonna mention something that happened when I was a child, and that my
Go for it.
experience
Yeah, this is the
because
stories that shape our lives, and we've moved into the neurobiology of trauma because it kind of blows out the window that think your way out of it and mindset stuff it that happens, but there's a lot of work to do to get to that place. Yeah,
because that's exactly this example I'm going to share is exactly that.
yeah,
So I remember being told, I mean, I used to get stonewalled. My mother would she'd give me the silent treatment. What have I done wrong, mummy? Tell me what I've done wrong. If you don't know, I'm not telling you. That was what I would get. And I would sit there and I'd say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And do you know that sorry carried on into adulthood? I was constantly saying, I'm sorry
Yeah.
to everyone in sight. And someone told me, said, why do you keep saying sorry? I went, I don't know. And then I started thinking about, but okay, we'll go back to that child again. I'm sorry, mummy, I'm sorry. It's no good being sorry now. Now,
Yeah.
my little brain was trying to think my way out of it.
Your little body and brain is like
Yeah,
just in desperate panic here. Like, I
yeah,
can't get back into connection with my adult. I'm distressed and I've got nowhere to go. And I feel
yeah.
that everywhere in my body right now because my shine child is going, yes, yes. Um, I've
And
got
I
nowhere
can
to go.
remember I
I'm
was sitting,
sat in
yeah,
my own pool of shame here, and you're not, as an adult, what we want our adult to do is to provide safety and care and pull us out of that puddle and say, if a child can't repair, can't come back to you, um, that's a really horrible, distressing place to sit.
it really was. And I can remember thinking, literally sitting there thinking, well, if I'm, if it's too late to be sorry now, when should I be sorry? And actually thinking, well, if I say sorry before I've done anything, well, that's solve it. So you can imagine when I was trying to reason it. What if I say sorry before but then if I say sorry before I've done anything, I'm going to be told off for being cheeky and that I'm being
I am
rude.
like,
And I'm
yeah,
just
my
sitting there thinking, so you imagine that child
I'm
sitting
feeling
there,
all of that right now.
what if they're just complete, I was trying to get my reasoning
Yeah,
brain, the intelligent part of my brain working, but it wouldn't work because the pain was there and there was no way out. I was absolutely trapped.
yeah. And I'm feeling every inch of that trap. This is the reason we don't cancel friends,
Yeah,
because hearing that, yeah, sometimes I am I do have tears in my friends, but I'm my own inner child is kind of like, I didn't say sorry because I was too traumatized to even go back to, I would just hide. Um, but yeah,
yes,
that kind of, you here you are trying to repair and you can't come back in. And this is why I am so passionate about the work I do with families
yeah,
and children and parents, is we don't want to leave children in that shame. They need to be able to come back and say, I'm sorry. And actually we need the adult to say, I know you are, and it's okay. And what this kind of will go again in our when we do our kind of parenting stuff. That actually, if a child can come back and repair and say sorry, and the adult can accept that apology, it's not saying that you're accepting that apology in that moment. Yeah. But what actually happens often is that well, you're just going to do it again. And this happens in relationship, adult relationship, you're just going to do it again. You're not really
yes,
sorry because you keep doing it. And so because you can't do it yet, I'm going to persecute you because you can't do it. And
yeah,
people often, out of a desire to kind of fix things, say, I'm never going to do it again. And of course, we can't offer that because we're not that in control of all this stuff. We
no,
think the other myth I think we can chuck in this bucket of relationship digging is the myth that we're in control all the time of everything. I have never been so out of control of everything in my life. I feel more in control of lots of things. The one thing I still am not massively in control of is my nervous system.
yeah,
Um, but actually, the notion that we're always in control, the notion that now you've apologized, you'll never do it again, you've learnt your lesson. Most of us, if we go on a diet, if we're under eating, overeating, if we need to eat more or eat less, let's use dieting just an example. Most of us will say, I'm not eating any more crisps. Yeah, maybe we've had this harebrained scream that we're not eating more crisps or more donuts. 5 minutes later, we've eaten donut. We're not in as much control as we think we are, because what's happening is the lower brain is hijacking the upper brain.
yeah,
Your
yeah,
survival responses have kicked in. And again, building that neural pathway, that pause between response and reaction, it takes work. Yeah. You
exactly.
can
And I
just
think that's why
choose
I'm
how you
bringing it
think or
in, that
feel or
kind of,
behave.
yeah,
There's a lot of work between reacting and responding.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I was bringing that example, because that stayed with me for quite a long time.
Yeah.
I kept saying sorry. I remembered that I was in my 30s, and somebody
Think we
said to me,
could
"Why
do a
don't you say
whole
sorry?"
session on sorry, because
Yeah.
actually it feeds in. You asked me this question in our earlier friendship. You asked, I think you might have asked me why I was over explaining. You might not remember. And actually it that and it really fed into, it was a really good question to ask. Why am I over explaining? Why am I going into so much detail? I need to convince you. I
Mm.
maybe need to convince
Be
myself,
believed. Be
not being
believed.
believed. Yeah. How many of us are silenced? How many of us have protested our innocence? Because we're all innocent often. And if we're not, if we have messed up, we're not telling you because we've gone into survival state. This will go in a parenting episode about lying. If I don't have enough safety to bring my mistake self or my vulnerable self to you because you're going to punish me, something bad's going to happen here. So this is where, yeah, if you parent from a place of power, shame and control, then no one feels safe enough to be honest. um it happens in adult relate.
Yeah,
I'm not safe, it doesn't feel
exactly.
safe enough to be honest. And because honest, yeah, more honest we are, the more we talk about that. If somebody's not going to hear us, then why would we bother? I
Yeah.
always think emotions are a little bit like a cut glass. um if I give you this glass, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to hold it safely, hold it because it's precious, or are you going to toss it up the wall or smash it? Are you not going to hear me invalidate what I'm telling you, even if I didn't mean to hurt you or upset you? Can I hear how you feel anyway? Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's it. You can't be honest. You can't be truthful, because it would bring all that shame back. You're right, and that's why you're right. You can't be vulnerable in a relationship, and we will still screw
Yeah.
up. You're right, but it
Shame is so
shame.
powerful, and it's so I'm working with client, I think of some clients I'm working with at the moment, and one of them says, I until we named it, I didn't realize how pervasive it is and how it kind of almost is insidiously can dictate our every move.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shame's a really horrible emotion
It's
to have.
painful. It's I am not good enough. When we can separate out, this is the healing, I think, as well. When we can separate out that I forgetting to send you that email is a moment in time. If I didn't manage it and I actually kicked off, I get a bit of kicking off. My brain is firing quite quickly. I hold a lot better now. But if I haven't managed it and I've hurt you and I've gone, oh shit, I did that, I hurt you. It hurts me because I hurt you. Um, I feel the shame of that. It's back to that little inner child you're talking about. I want to repair this. I need the attachment. Couples do this all the time. They don't give each other space to kind of process. I need to come back. I'm panicking. I've upset
Mm.
you. I need to repair it. I need you to forgive me. I need everything to be okay again.
Mm.
It's driven by our sense of pain, disconnection. Feeling guilt is useful. And so if I feel bad about something, I want to repair. But if I can't repair it, I've got nowhere to go. Yeah. So pain is shameful. When we can separate it out, and when I can say I'm human, and it's good enough, and me forgetting to send you that email, doesn't isn't linked to my entire identity. Yeah. That it's actually just a moment in time when I can bear to be less than perfect, when I can bear to lean into the not good enough, and God, this is hard, then I am not attaching every mistake to my whole being. I'm like, I can bear to mess up. And I hate it when people say mistakes, say you're trying. I have had mistakes that have led me to being through professional complaint. I've been sued. Some mistakes, even though we were doing our best, may bring horrific consequences for us. Shame, persecution.
Mm.
If a doctor messes up, they may lose their license. Yeah. And so not all mistakes are the same shape and size. Me forgetting to put the dustbins out is very different from a surgeon who has left an implement in a
Yeah.
heart bypass. Yeah. So we talk when we're kind of offering these platitudes out. We don't have a lens for the different shapes and sizes of stuff.
Well, we don't. I think that's very true. And I think the other thing that I see is when people are labeled, you're lazy, you're a bully, you're angry, you label people, giving people labels instead of that was bullying behavior.
Yeah.
That was what you did was it would have been nice if you'd made more effort. It's that when that label, because you can't, if you're labeled as a bully, where
Mm.
have you got to go? That's saying you as a person, that's your whole being
Name
is
calling
is a
is never
bully.
helpful. Yeah.
But if you tell someone, well, you know what, that was a bit bully, that was bullying, that was unkind, that was lazy behavior, you were a bit lazy at that point when you didn't make your bed, or whatever that thing is, you've got a chance to change. But if you actually label somebody, where can they go with that? And I think
It's
this is what
interesting, isn't
happens
it?
so
The calling
often.
out and calling in of humans when we call people
Yeah.
out and call them in. And I think can we bring in what you said about you somebody made you furious because they were talking about it was a mediator, wasn't it? The mediator who was like was it he almost had a I don't know if it was a he or she, but there was a shut up and put up message in there. And actually the shut up and put up um that infuriated you because actually we be it's finding the middle in relationships is probably one of the hardest places to find because I don't want to collude with this and I want to
Mm.
say how I feel and what I need you to do. Yeah. So holding the responsibility for ourselves and asking other people to take responsibility and accountability is quite a hard thing to do. And how we do it with by taking care of somebody and not name calling is
Yeah, I think
is
name
there's a real
calls.
art and skill in that.
Yeah, and I think we see too much of it. And if we're
Yeah.
called those names as children, you're thick, you're stupid, that child carries that label constantly. And it doesn't have to be even like you know, the fact that I was always in the wrong, it meant that I felt not good enough.
Yeah.
And it wasn't actually, you're not good enough. Well, words weren't said there, but the mere fact that I wasn't living up to my parents' expectations, my mother's expectations, made me feel I wasn't a good enough
Never
daughter.
good enough. Yeah.
So that I kept, so anything that happened, whether it was a school report or a friend not, just turning their back on me or unfriending me again, or not inviting to a party, whatever that could have been, it was another affirmation of you're really not good enough. That just shows you're
You're
not
right.
good.
Brené talks about how perfectionism is shame shields. Yeah, we're shielding ourselves from rejection, pain, and shame. And actually, what happens is we then start. I've got a half-written article on my laptop, loads of them actually, that we're not the best detectives of our own stuff because
Mm.
actually, what we tend to do is we roll it all in like the mud or the shame of it. So actually, we could have a body in the middle. We could have a crime scene here and three bodies and a blood spatter pattern and pools of blood. Sorry for the graphic imagery. That's how my brain works. And we'd still be saying there's no murder here. Yeah, because what we're doing is we're often looking for the evidence to support the not good enough story. We're
Yeah,
not looking for the evidence. We're all at the worst detectives, which is why we need a co-detective to tell us I'm noticing and feeding back what we're not. You do it to me, and I do it to me. And I was talking to somebody about the use of supervision, and it's not always that we need our supervisor to tell us how to work with a client. It's in that feeding back, and this happens in therapy, isn't it? It's in that feeding back that we notice. Yeah, we
yeah,
actually notice how hard we're working. We notice actually I'm doing more. I had it with my behavior today. I noticed how much I was actually doing as I was talking to her because I that not good enough or not enough was pervasive again. Yeah,
yeah. And we,
yeah,
we both experience that ourselves, and therefore we can see that in our clients. We recognize
yeah,
it in clients, and
yeah,
and I think that's why we own our stuff and share it on here, because no, we've had our shit times. You're still going through shit times, um, and it just says that we're human beings, and those
Yeah.
things still happen to
We're
us.
always good enough, even when we really don't feel it. Um, we're always struggling and wrestling with ourselves. And I don't think that ever really stops. We heal more and it becomes easier to go to compassion and ground ourselves. So yeah, the reason we started this was to help people who aren't in therapy but wanted some support. And you're right, it's not about taking away all taking everything away and making it all nice and neat. It is about normalizing this, what it is to be human, what it is to struggle. And also, I'm aware, and this hasn't come across yet, maybe we can do one on play, because actually I'm aware when we're talking, the lens is on trauma and on the struggles, because that's what we want to help with. But also there is a playful and joy to be found and to be experienced, and it's in the moments of connection, like you telling me to F off as we're trying to find the buttons to record. So there is joy and live energy and
Playfulness, yeah,
and playfulness that also exist in us. And actually it's my inner child who chose my rainbow stair carpet. It's the inner child that cheekily kind of like messes about when I'm supposed to be doing something serious. So it's not just a crying inner child that we have, it's also allowing that inner child to be playful, to be cheeky. And actually, I think we should do one on troublemaker, a session on the troublemaker within us, because we are so in perfectionist mode a lot of the time, trying to not make any mistakes, that I know from embracing the troublemaker in me, the rebel, the maverick, that's where we really come alive, when we say sod the rules. Yeah. Sod
yeah,
what other people think about us. Yeah, you don't get to define that. When we get to that, we do get to a place, and we don't stay there, we keep bouncing in and out of it again.
yeah.
We can get to a sense of self that is strong enough that I can say to the idiot that's kind of like plowed into one of my kind of conversations with a bit of a dig, that I can say to him, you're behaving like a bit of a douchebag. Yeah. And actually really know that, and like that's your stuff. And so enough self-esteem is the protector from other people's crap. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think unless we've been really squashed to a degree that there's nothing within us, we've really been wiped out of our personality completely. You certainly have got that. You've had that as a child, that I'm not putting up with it. I'm going to be playful. I'm going to be the rebel. There were times in me that would come out in me. No, I'm not, or I will be that. I would be.
We need that part of ourselves.
Yeah, but
That I'll fuck you, and I'll show you that the
yeah,
fighty part of ourselves. I
yeah.
All my curiosity, creativity, and playfulness was squashed as a child. I threw a pram down the stairs to see if it would bounce. I was a
Ah,
destructive child. I was smacked, sent to bed without any dinner for the crime of throwing my pram. Nobody was curious to ask, why did I throw my pram down the stairs? Nobody was curious enough to know why I had a Jacko monkey. He had plastic face and hands and feet, and he was kind of soft in the middle. And I literally sat there and picked all the stitches open on the back of him.
you see what was in.
I wanted to see what was inside of him. So I didn't realize that I had this natural curiosity, which is now a superpower for the work I do.
Yeah,
But actually, it was squashed out of me by parents who were like, destructive child. Do you know how much these things cost? There was no curiosity as to why did you pull him apart? And actually, okay, now you know what's inside of him. Do you want to stitch him back up and keep him? That's what should have happened. Yeah, but actually, no, you're a destructive child. The toy was given to a sibling, and I again was smacked and sent to bed. So I got a message that you can't make mistakes, they're too terrifying. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So I think that even when it seeps out, that playfulness or that curiosity, it can be knocked out.
You can
But it
foster
has.
that.
But you know what? it's still within you because you still are. I mean, it's
It's
a very
massively
strong,
within me. It's,
yes,
yeah, it's
definitely there
even,
within you.
yeah, it, and
So,
that's what is, you know, other, when I've lost it, other people have helped, you know, like a little sinking cargo ship. Other tugboats have took me to shore because we need that. But most of the time there is a fightiness that's kind of within all of
mm,
us, I think, that we have to embrace and say, actually, we can break the rules. And actually, yeah, let's do, I really want to do one on breaking the rules and
yeah, we need to.
embracing our troublemaker. Because Brené Brown, whose work we both love, says troublemaking is groundbreaking, and we need to troublemaker. We need to break the rules. That's how we get progress.
Yeah, and
And
I
for any
think that's
women
what
out
I'm doing.
there, you know,
Yeah,
sorry, men, but this one's for the ladies. No well-behaved woman ever went down in history. It's all
no.
the women who troublemaked that brought us progress, suffragettes, yeah. And so there is room for our troublemakers.
And I think
And
that's what I want to reassure anybody who's watching, that
yeah,
that unless they've been really, every part of their being has just been flattened completely,
yeah,
there is going to be a part, that glimmer, whether it's a troublemaker, whether it's the curiosity,
they're all
whether
within
it is the
us.
playfulness, because I think that is the thing that helps us heal. There
Yeah,
is that part of you that can be mischievous. There is that part of you that can be rebellious. There is that part of you that could be the troublemaker. There is that part of you that
yeah,
can be curious.
definitely.
And those are the parts you need that are helping you and lifting you
That's
and
my
helping
life
you
force.
heal.
That's my passion,
Yes,
actually.
yes,
It's my life from the pain, injustice, and it's not damn good enough that I experience from, you know, how trauma survivors are treated and mental health is treated. It actually, you know, it's from these real, I don't even have the words for the depths of despair and pain that our passions and our fireworks are born. And so,
yes,
yeah, we don't have, it creates an energy, a drive that, you know, is hard to extinguish. Yes,
yeah.
lights have gone out here, but the sparks reappear, just like, you know, that kind of going up into, you know, kind of more healing and stuff. Um,
Mm,
the sparks come back, and it actually
yeah,
what it does is actually what, you know, that trauma can intensify. And I didn't like this when someone said it to me originally, that it will make you a better therapist. I was a little bit, I have a healthy respect and disrespect for most things, and I was like, fuck off. Yeah, I'm a damn good therapist already. I didn't want to hear it. It wasn't the right timing. But actually, a year on from my kind of trauma and breakdown, of loss and kind of shattering, what actually has happened is that actually it's given me a deeper knowing, a knowing that I would never have had um, through living. It's an ing thing, you know, my saying, it's an ing thing. It's not a lived experience, it's a living experience. Mine
mm.
is very lively at the moment. So a living experience. So um, also what trauma does, it gives us a deeper knowing, a deeper empathy.
Yeah, it does. You're right. And I think this is it. One of the things I remember, and because of my what was going on in my life, I became very hyper vigilant. I wasn't
Yeah,
sure of
I'm still in
what
that
was
place. I'm like,
anyway.
what's that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have a very my startle
You
response is
jumpy
very high,
sponse. Yeah,
very, very high. Um, if somebody comes up behind me when I was
yeah.
renting, I can scream out loud, and I used to do it quite regularly in an office. I don't know, make me jump. And but that hypervigilance, although I saw it very much as people say you're too sensitive, all of that. But you know what? I can remember as a supervisor, clinical supervisor, who said to me, you take things personally, you're very sensitive, it's all of that. But do you realize that that's a very you turn that around and it
Mm.
makes you empathetic. It makes you more in tune with your clients. It
I
makes
think
you a
you
good
can ditch the too
therapist.
sensitive, because there's no two. You just,
No, I know. I'm
we
just
feel,
saying,
don't we?
yeah.
Yeah,
But
we
I'm saying
feel.
that's what the
Yeah,
label I felt.
yeah,
But when you like it is, I say it to clients, whatever it is, it become that. whatever you experience and you felt that way, you turn it around, it becomes your superpower. And
It
you
does.
can
There's an
use that as your
upside. There's
superpower.
often an upside.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do an upside of I know this is relationships and we're both heavily focused on trauma because that's the work we're off and actually trauma, we use the word trauma and it's kind of, you know, it's often people don't realize that they've had some trauma because they're looking for big stuff, like I was hit or locked in a cupboard. And actually, you've just talked about the painful disconnection in an emotionally unavailable parent. So
Mm,
I think we should definitely do an upside, because actually what I know from
mm.
my history is that I plan like a ninja. I'm disaster recovery. There's
Exactly.
an
So that's
upside.
it. There is that
Yeah,
upside. And you were
yeah,
talking earlier about, well, that is how I turned it around. And I think this is it. And this is what helps us heal as well.
yeah,
Instead of always thinking of that characteristic where you've been put down as a child or that belief as a child, there is an upside to it. Like stubbornness is tenacity. Um, I know that
yeah.
there are all kinds of things
Did
at
a
the same.
LinkedIn just the other day about reframing, and actually,
Yeah,
yeah, the words and the language we use and how it can
absolutely.
be, and I think if you reframe too early, you miss someone. So reframing is all about, it's precision. I think I realize that we are trained in precision timing, and it has to be
Yeah.
when someone is ready to hear it. If you try and reframe too early, the person's not ready to. It's all about timing.
No, and I guess we're
um
talking to people who may
yeah,
not be in therapy, and it's just
yeah,
offering, well,
yeah,
hang
the
on, have you thought
reframing
about
of,
that?
yeah, we could do a session on just reframes, couldn't we? Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right. Persistence, determination, stubbornness, the other way around is persistence and determination. You used the word
absolutely.
tenacity. We could use the
Yeah,
word grit as well. There's a grit here that that life experiences bring with us. And so yeah, I'm aware of the time. We've been going quite a
yeah, I
while.
think
We could
we have. I
probably
think we're
probably
probably
have to cut
we're
this
coming to
off.
an end now. Yeah, we
Yeah,
probably are coming to
yeah,
an.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we've covered quite a lot as usual.
I've got a few in my heads of kind of next episodes from our conversation today. Maybe the upside of kind of trauma and the flip sides of stuff. Yeah, flipping it.
Lots of
Yeah,
things
it's
that we can
probably
do. So
yeah. So there's some more topics I think that would probably come out of. It just evolves, doesn't it? We could, yeah, we can keep going. And hopefully this is useful. And yeah. I forget that people are going to listen to this and we're like, oh shit, we're going to put it out to the world. So if you are listening, we'd love feedback, because yeah, we're going to put them out there and then we'll be like, is anybody actually watched though? So if you have got to the end of this episode, and or even the series, yeah, I guess we can call for feedback of what's resonating for you. What, yeah, what do you want to ask us? Yeah,
yeah,
people can get
definitely.
in touch, can't they? If they want to
Yeah,
hear, if they want to let us know what's resonated, what's useful. We're not super mega
absolutely.
stars that we can't answer an email. Yeah,
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to say goodbye now, and thank people for watching, and I hope they
yeah.
have found it useful.
Hope
So
this has been helpful. Thank you for watching. And again, thank you for the exploration, Wendy. I always love these sessions. They spark my brain up.
yeah,
Yeah.
me too. I think we've kind of learned. I've got a funny color again.
You have. Oh,
Right,
you're
we're
back.
back. Yeah, you just touch a button and
I
that's
think is
it.
it Andy Warpole who did the
Yeah,
is it
Andy
Andy
Warhol. That's
is
it.
it Andy Warpole?
Warhol, Warhol,
Warhol. The
War,
pop
War,
Warhol,
Warhol.
the pop art artist. Yeah, that's what those
That's
pictures
it.
when you change to pop art look
You see, I'm
like.
so adaptable. I'm like a chameleon.
We all are
Okay,
to
we'll
some
say
degree.
goodbye now.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.